What's up, my dudes? My name is Turley, and this is my new custom track called Mars Supercross. So a lot of you guys probably remember my Mars motocross from way back in the day, and it's got kind of that same vibe going on. But the real big thing I wanted to do with this track is try to make a different kind of Supercross track. Most of the time, all you ever really see with a Supercross track on this game is the standard built on a perfectly flat surface, and it's all really tight 90-degree corners and everything's like in one little box, and that's kind of how most of the Supercross tracks are on this game. But I really wanted to go in there and try to add some elevation and make it just a little different than the everyday Supercross tracks out there. So I guess in a sense it's kind of like a hybrid track, but I really wasn't going for that, if that makes sense. So a lot of the jump faces are more like Supercross straight up and down type jump faces on it, but there are ruts in the corners and some roughness here and there, but there's no ruts on the actual jump faces, because when you get into doing that, it starts to really change the feeling of the track. So that's one thing I really didn't want to do. I wanted it to feel like a normal everyday kind of Supercross track as far as what's on the actual track, as far as the jump faces and stuff like that, and the landings and everything. But I didn't want to go in there and make it like a super ruddy, because then it just turns into a motocross track at that point. So it does have a lot of similarities to more so a motocross or a hybrid style track, but it really, the base of it is still a Supercross track. So it's pretty cool, and I actually hopped on a 125 on this track just to goof around a little bit, and you can still get around the track pretty well. I was actually surprised because I was thinking, oh my gosh, this 125, there's no way it's going to hit some of these jumps, but honestly, it gets around it fairly well. I mean, yeah, you can't hit those Pastrana lines every lap, but you can still get around the track. It's not like you're casing one of the big doubles and not able to get over it or something. Like, you can still get around on a 125. So I've never had a track just come together like this as far as the rhythm sections go. I've never had it happen this easily and this quickly. Honestly, I just built these jumps. The first time I built them, I might have changed some of these up one or two times because maybe the angle wasn't quite right, but for the most part, everything just turned out to be really cool and unique style jumps, and it usually doesn't happen like that. Usually you'll go in there just when you're trying to just build a random rhythm section or a random double, usually it doesn't work right on the very first time, just because you're kind of guesstimating on the angle of it and all that stuff, because you go in there and build it in like a 2D type thing before you can actually go in there and test it out. So the weird thing about this track when I was making it is everything just happened. Like this rhythm section right here, I literally just built it straight up and then it just turned out like that. I really didn't change much of anything. I think I might have had to go in there and adjust those little tabletops just a little bit so that you could actually skim over them a little bit easier. But as far as the actual rhythm sections and fun different lines that you could take, as far as all that goes, that just worked out perfectly, and that's the best way to do it. I know I've said this before, but you almost accidentally do it. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I'm telling you, when you're making a custom track, you just got to go in there and sort of throw something together that you think might work, and then you go in there and test it out, and if it works, that's awesome. Because even me on my custom tracks, especially the ones that aren't replicas or anything like that, it feels like I'm riding a track that someone else made, because I didn't go in there and sit down and go, okay, this is exactly the rhythm I want to make on this track. I just randomly start making it, and then it turns out like that. So it's pretty cool, man. I've never, like I said, I've never had a track just sort of come right together as far as the rhythm sections and everything on this track. And there's multiple different lines you can hit on this rhythm section. You can hit this humongous floater up in the air for 5.5 days right here, bro. It's pretty insane. And you can also just do like a triple, but you can also just do a double. So you can do double, triple, or a quad right there, and there's basically 4 or 5 ruts in that corner, so you can see the multiple different lines you could hit there. And on the other rhythm section, you can do all different kinds of lines there as well. And that's one thing that I've learned with making rhythm sections is really hard to do, is when you put it in your mind that, okay, I'm going to make this certain rhythm section and I'm going to make it work this certain way, and this is the exact way you're going to hit that rhythm section, if you try too hard to do that, a lot of times it makes it to where you can't hit any other rhythm section, if that makes any sense. Like it eliminates other lines whenever you try to try to be too strict and make a certain rhythm work. So you almost have to just go in there and randomly build the rhythm and then just hope that multiple different lines come out of it, and that's kind of what happened with this track. So it's pretty cool, man. I mean, somewhat simple. There's only, I think, 5 or 6 lanes on this track, but the lap times are still fairly long, man. They're not like real short lap times. I mean, I guess the track kind of feels a little short just because there's not a ton of actual rhythm lanes or anything, but the fact that it's not all boxed in a really tight space, the lap times are still basically the same as any other Supercross track. So yeah, man, pretty cool stuff. Got a nice little downhill double right here, and a lot of these ruts, man, they just came together. I don't know, there's no other way to say it, and it's just awesome when that happens, because this game rewards you for just making things, and then they just work. I don't know why. You would think that you would go in there and try to build something really specific, and then it would turn out to be just amazing, and you can do that. But one thing I've learned is 80% of the time when you go in there and just randomly build it, it's amazing. Sometimes it's not, trust me. Sometimes you go in there and try to build something and you can't hit it at all, but for the most part, when you go in there and randomly build things, it feels like a natural track that way. I'm not really sure why that happens, but anyways, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this track. I'm going to have the link in the description, and you guys can go download it. It's pretty fun. Like I said, a little bit on the shorter feeling of a track, but honestly, the lap times are just as long, and you've seen right there on that little jump. Let me back that up. So you can see you can actually land right on the top if you're on a 125 or whatever, or you can actually jump all the way over that. So multiple different lines, multiple different landings, and you should be able to ride on the entire track with any bike as long as you're taking some of the outside lines if you're on a 125 or something like that. So just remember that. But yeah, fun track. And this is actually not one of the tracks that I had. You know, I was telling you guys I had a few tracks that was 70 to 80% complete. This is actually not one of those tracks right here. I just built this straight from scratch in one day. So I actually have a lot more tracks out there that are really close to being finished. So I'm in that track building mode right now, and you guys know what happens when I start to get in that mode. I just start making tracks like crazy, but I'm really going to try. I've got one track that I've spent a lot of time on, and it's got a really cool, just well-made layout. It doesn't feel like a weird, just randomly built layout. It's like a well-made layout, and it's actually based off of one of the tracks on MX vs ATV Alive. One of the, I can't remember what that track was called. I think it's Bamboo Hills, possibly. I don't know if that's the right one, because I know there's like 5 of basically the same track, but it's just like different parts of the track. I can't remember which one it exactly is, but I've got a pretty cool track that's actually based off of that. So it's got that sort of layout to it where it's got just those kind of up and down hills and fun jumps where you just float down hills and then you turn around and you're like right on a cliffside and you got the ocean off in the distance. So I got that track going to be coming out pretty soon as well, and then I also got some other ones going to be coming out. So a lot of stuff to come, and a ton of ideas. And once I get in that mode, there's no telling what I'll make, because then I'm like, I don't care how long it's going to take, I just make it. But when I don't make tracks, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to have to go in there and spend all that time trying to make the track and put all the decals in there, and it just, you know, there's kind of a wall you have to break through, and then you say, okay, I don't give a crap how long this is going to take. I don't give a crap how much work it's going to take. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it right, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's kind of the stage I'm in right now. But anyways, thanks for watching the video. Later, dudes.